Hello everybody and welcome to another tutorial in camera and lens repair. And this time I will try to explain how you can, if your lens, in this case a non-AI Nikkor-H Auto 1.8, and it's an 85mm. And it has a, well, let's say a sticky focus, so it feels like it binds a little on one way, and the other it binds around here and also the way back, so it is not so good. So I will show you how you can go in and disassemble the whole lens, I mean the focusing assembly, and yeah, let's do it. It's not that hard. There's a few different things in this lens that is, yeah, different from other Nikkor lenses. We need some tools, at least some screwdrivers, only flathead screwdrivers. So I will use a 1.2mm flathead screwdriver, 1.8 and a 2mm and a 2.5. And we will also need some tweezers, at least a straight one like this. And I made this one for working with the aperture blades and the aperture assembly, but it's also useful in many other cases like this. And a fine pointy dentist tool is also very good to make scratch. Yes, we need some lenses with scratches inside. You will never see them. A few cotton buds, and of course we need some solvent. And I use acetone or isopropyl alcohol, and I actually use a lot of isopropyl alcohol, 99%, and acetone to get at least take out the mount. To regrease the focusing system, I was thinking of using the LM47 or the Japan hobby tool grade 10. I don't know yet. We will see after the cleaning how good and precise the threads inside are made. I haven't been fully into, take out the helicoids, but I made some notes on the way in, like you see here. It's at how the distance is at infinity. I will show it to you when we go to that point. So I'm missing the, writing the how many turns you when you unscrew the helicoids. I will note them here, so you'll soon see. We also need a measure tool like this. Can be very handy at to making those notes which I make here. So yeah, a rubber tool is also very handy. I have this, but you can probably use the rubber cones, or you could use working gloves to actually at least unscrew the name ring here, which can sit quite sticky. Now I'll just put the back lens cap on, and then we will begin with the name ring. The name rings is actually holding the lens assembly and the aperture assembly in place, and it's held in place by one little set screw. And for that I will use the 1.2mm flathead screwdriver, and you can, if there is any thread lock or varnish over the hole here, well, we could actually use some just a tiny little drop of isopropyl alcohol 99% and simply let it suck into the hole, and in that way soften the varnish. Maybe if you only have acetone, well, it will also work really good. Now, unscrew this. I mean, you maybe have to fully unscrew it. I think it would not be necessary, but better unscrew it fully so you have it, you can put it away and have it in a safe place. Now, the front ring in this lens was actually sitting quite hard, so I will use my homemade lens tool made out of a plywood and a rubber plumbing gasket, which is quite sticky. So simply put it on here and twist it counterclockwise, and getting off. Remember, if you put it in again, if you have the lens like this and you unscrew the name ring, the whole lens assembly will fall out. So we will not do that. And just unscrew it, because that's it. Nothing special about that. You see, here is a little gap, which actually is a guide pin for the lens assembly when you put it in, so it can only sit in one position. Now, set the aperture ring all the way to 22, and that's fine. So when we take off the lens cap here, have a good finger on here, and you can see the aperture connection pin is actually here on the back, and the aperture is actually working fine. So we can just put it on again. Now, with a fully closed aperture, we can simply just have the lens assembly falling into your hand. And that's it. Now, before doing anything, it will make it much easier when you assemble the lens again. It simply put the little round pin here all the way over to that way, and simply make a small mark here. It will make it easier for you to remember that this pin has to go all the way over to the very end here. So when you put it in the focus assembly, you will know it's the right position. The other pin also have to go all the way to that way, left, and when we have the front lens towards yourself, and see, this pin cannot go any further. So make a scratch something like in the middle or so, and also have another scratch here. So that's fine for now. We'll not use this anymore in this case. Well, I will just, when we are here, it just come up to me. I mean, what's the dimension of this front ring in this lens? It could be different in your lens. So let's see how the thickness. It's well, 2 yeah. Let's see if we 0 and see how is the width. It's around 2.0. I mean, yeah, 2.01 millimeter. and it could be very useful in case you should make some adjustment. Now, away with that, and then we'll go deeper into this focusing assembly. We can just take off the back lens cap, and we can simply also take off the focusing ring itself. It sits with 2, 4, 6 screws around. So off of those, and I will do it with a 2.5 millimeter. It is the biggest you should use for that. Maybe it's better to with a 2 millimeter, I would think. So off that, and yeah, off. So keep him in a safe place, and so, and then we are almost there. And the last screw. So the focusing ring itself is actually quite, it sits very tight. So you see, set the focus to infinity, and that's fine. So now we can actually try to pull off the focusing ring. And maybe it's a good way of setting it to maybe something like 4 meters or so, and then press it on your working desk and simply have 4 fingers on it, and then press down, and you could set it to even more near end and see if it will come loose. That's fine. Easy. So and there is nothing in here there should be done, so we can just fully set the lens to the end. There is a little piece of brass here, so it's not I mean, it is the focusing ring has to sit correct, because this cutout you maybe can see here, hopefully, yeah, there. It has to sit with this little piece of brass. So actually the focusing ring can only sit in one position. Well, so and for now we will just make a few scratch, which is fine and very useful in the when you assemble the lens. I mean, assemble the focus helicoid. So with the focus at to infinity here, with the index mark, simply set a scratch here. It's important, and you could also set a small mark up here. In this case, there was actually already marks, but it could be different in your lens. So simply set a scratch in here. That's it. All you will have to do. And if there isn't any mark inside here, you can also make a small scratch. So yeah, that's all. Then we will take off the mount, which in this case I actually use a lot of nail polish, I mean isopropyl alcohol 99%, And then I switch to acetone really a lot. The screws in here, the 5 screws here, was sitting so tight. So I need a little bigger screwdriver than this one. But a 2.5 millimeter would actually work under normal circumstance. So if it sits way too tight, just need my little fan on, it will make it much easier. So if the screw sits really tight, you could simply add a good drop, or maybe much more than you would think, and let it suck in, and that's fine. I mean, since I've already been into the lens, it's not so hard, but could be different in your lens. So off with the 5 screws, and they are non-magnetic. And we'll just have to have them. So there, and come on, so there. So there, and out with that. Even if I have been into the lens before, the screws actually sit quite tight. So over this, the last screw, and that's all fine. Put them in a safe place, and then we can take off the mount. That's it. There's nothing special about the mount here, like many other Nikon lenses. And then I will also take off the aperture ring, and it sits with 1 screw here on the side. It's a longer screw, and it will go into the fork in here, and hopefully you can see it will go into the little gap in here. So when you put it back into assembly again, make sure and not just screw the screw in, but be a little safe to wiggle a little with the fork in here to get the screw into place. So now out with that. It's a little longer screw, and in the very beginning of the screw there is actually not really any thread, like you can see here. Let's see how the diameter of the screw actually is, just in case someone would know that. And it's a 1.60 or 62 millimeter. And how long is it? Well, you could see here. How long is it? In this case, it's something like 44.95 centimeter long. That's maybe good for someone to know. So now we can actually take off the aperture ring without any problem. So that's it. Here you can see the hole in here, this hole here, and the screw has to go between this gap here, and it will in that way push onto the aperture fork in here. Hopefully you can see it. So just make sure it is in the correct position. So out with that. And next we can take off the index ring, And well, maybe I will just in this, when we are here, make some measurement. You see, it is as I measured at infinity from the front of the inner helicoid, it will say here, to the very back of the, well, let's say the, to the very back here, it will say without the mount. So there should be something like 52.97 or so. And then you can see here it is something like that, around there. It depends on where I actually measure. But it should be something like that there. So that's important. And we also will measure how it is from the front of the middle helicoid. It will say at infinity from the front of this, of the middle helicoid to the back, is something like around 43.65. So at infinity, I will just measure. The angle will be a little out of alignment, but let's see. It will say to measure here. Well, I could also, if I have a would like have a better angle to the to this point here, I could also measure to this. See, to this. What you say? Well, end instead of using the very end. But it should be the same. But I will just use the measure I have already taken to the very back. And it should be something like that. Yeah. But it doesn't really matter. It's if it's in this precision measure, it should be fine. Now we'll take off the index mark. Yeah. Also, I also just in case of somebody would like that, from the front of the inner helicoid, I will say here, to the front of the middle helicoid. It could also be useful in some cases. I will say from here to here. And how long is it actually? Well, I measured to something like 9.51, and if it, I would think it should be, well, 9.50 or so, but it is in this area. So off with the index ring. Away with that. We will use it when I put the lens back. I mean assemble the lens again. So with a 1.8 millimeter, I'll use to take off the index ring because the screws are a little smaller. I mean the head, screw head is actually smaller. It's countersunk screws. And we can also measure the diameter of those screws. Could be useful for somebody. So there. Let's see how big they are. Oh. It will be something like that, 1.34 millimeter or so. And how long should it be? Well, Let's see if we can measure it here. From the head of the screw to the end of the screw, there is something like 2.29. So away with those. And the index ring was actually quite tight in the fit. So at least so it's better to, when you put the focus assembly just on the desk, working desk, and press down with the 4 fingers. It will make it easier to take off. You can see it. I have to wiggle a little and get it free. Nothing special about that. So now we are looking into the actual more of it, but to actually clean the cleaning the helicoid, which are really a lot of old gunky grease. I will not need to clean the aperture. I don't know the name of those of this ring, but the bearing with all the small tiny bearing balls, and I don't want to disassemble that, but I would like to take that assembly out. So to do that, I found out, I haven't taken it out yet, but I was on my way into figure out how I could take it out. You see, there is a ring, 3/4 moon ring down here, and it sits with 3 screws. It goes from there all the way around over to the other side, which is here, and it sits with 3 screws. So to actually get the bearing out, I simply need to take the aperture ring itself. It will say this fork that actually moved. You can see it. It actually hides some of the part of the screw here, and there are 3 of them. One there, something underneath here. You maybe can see, and there is also one over. Can I make it visible? Not really. Yeah, you can see it. It's right here. And I really want to take that out because it will make it a lot easier to actually clean the outer helicoid instead of adding a lot of petroleum into this with the dirty grease in. So I want to have it as clear as possible. So that I will do is, let's see, where is I screwed over here? Unscrew this little spring here. It sits on a little pin. Take that out and take care of the spring too. The spring will just stick to this little post, as you can see. I'll just show it here. You probably can see it. And then I can actually move this, the connection ring here. I can simply move it without any problem. So what I need is to unscrew the screws down here. Better use the other one. And it's quite small. So let's have measured the diameter of those. and it should be something like 1.32 millimeter. And now how long is the thread itself? If I can get that to... Oh. Nah. Difficult. Yeah. I think it will be something like 1.48 or so. So let's get the other ring out here. Ooh. Actually, before I take it out, I will just make a scratch down here, so I will know the exact position of this 3/4 ring. So simply make a scratch down here, and on the other side too. So that's fine. So now I know the exact position, and I'll just continue to take that out. And in case of it has to sit correct, of course it has, I'll just make a small scratch down here, so I know the position of that. And I will also make a scratch here. So you see, hopefully you can see it. Those two scratches has to sit in line with each other, so I know the exact position. So let's continue. Take that out. There it is. And where's my tweezer here? So nothing special about that. So now what we actually see down here is I can move the two rings around. See, and in that way I can make the 3 screws down here visible. See there, and the last one is over here. So yeah, and you cannot actually assemble things wrong, because the aperture ring itself, it will say the narrow fork here, it can only sit there because the cutout for the aperture pin that goes in here to the aperture ring is not a problem. So I will just unscrew those, but before doing that I would like to have a position of this bearing. So I will put it in correct way. So I have my index mark here, and I simply will just make a scratch down here, just a small one, and that's it. It sits in line with the index mark here, so I can just unscrew it without any problem. So let's see, and one screw is actually sitting at the index mark. So out with that. They're actually very small, very short. What diameter is those screws? Well, something like 1.30 or 32, 35 or so. And the length is, if we measure it, it's possible. Yeah, it's something like 1.50 I mean 59 or 60 or so. So with that, got that in correct order, and I can simply continue with the other two screws. And then the last one sits here. Ooh, well. So now I would, I think I would be able to simply take out the bearing assembly, hopefully, without any steel ball falling out. So by pressing down here, it comes free. Okay, what's going on here? It looks like there is this part here is actually screwed into the next part. How could I know that? But let's see if I can take out this assembly. Yow. Is it really not possible? Well, okay. Well, so I need to... there is not really any set screws in here. So I don't... I mean, I can see there is... You see, there is different materials here. So this is the unpainted material, and this is a bag of... which is this part here. So, well, I don't want to actually screw that out, and I cannot really take out the bearing part. So, well, how could I know that without a repair manual? So I will simply just put the ring in place again and say that's all fine. If I can get it into place. What's going on here? Oh, not easy. Well, if we can take this out over here, and this I can move maybe a little, and that was really unexpected. Let's see. I can get it to move a little. I mean, it should be. I should be able to do that. So if I take this ring here and hold on to it. Okay, we begin with that. And the other screws over here. My index mark, where did it go? Here. So I'll fully turn this around and have my index mark to sit correct. So it should be over here. So my small mark, which I said before, is here, and it's in line with the index mark. So I would be able to put the screws in again. Well, can I just there? Something like that. And fully screw it into place. Let's see how good it will be. Yeah, it's correct. Then I'll just put in the other 2 screws and just be a little aware of when I actually clean the outer helicoid. There, and then the last screw down here. So it will be there. And just tighten the 3 screws so they will sit proper. Yeah. Okay, little fellow. There. And this one over here. There. And the last one. So now back on track. Yeah, that's fine. I'll just disassemble the helicoids here, and I have already measured how long from the back to the front and to the middle helicoid, so that's fine. As you probably, if you want the notes again, you can just take a snapshot of it. So now I will unscrew the key, the helicoid key here, but it sits with 2 screws. It will say one here, one there. Before doing so, so the lens is at infinity, I will simply set a small scratch on the helicoid key and also on this side of the outer helicoid. It's just to make it easier to see, is it in correct position. So make a scratch here. I just make a little infinity mark here. And I will also do it in the other end. I will say near end and make another scratch here too. So the helicoid will sit correct. Now we also need to take off the brass plate here, which is actually the stop for each end of, it will say, we'll stop onto this plate here, and onto that, and it will also stop to the other end. It will say near end here. So, and I think there's no need for take off those 2 plates. And then before I take out the plate, I will simply make a scratch on each side of it, there, and also not in the middle, but one of the side. It doesn't really matter, but it will prevent you from sitting it in a wrong position. So that's it. Off with the helicoid key. There. The screws are quite small, and I guess they are countersunk. Yeah. What diameter is it actually? Let's see. Measure it. It's something like 1.34. And I think I will also measure the length of those. Could be useful in somebody's case. there and there. No, there. Here it is, 2.49. Off with that. And hold on, I will just take off the plate here first before loosen the helicoid key. It will make it easier. So off with those two screws. It looks like the same as the helicoid key, but I will just measure it just in case somebody would like that. So out with that, and we'll just take off the little plate here, nothing special, and keep it aside. So just measure those screws. I guess they are the same diameter. Well, actually 1.36 millimeter. And how long is this screw? Not easy. It is 2.40 millimeter. So, off with that. And now I will take off the helicoid key. And remember, working with only one helicoid at a time, it will make it a lot easier. Also when you assemble it again, because you have to know when you unscrew the helicoids, both of them, how many turns and where will it come off the thread. That's the important. So at the moment I actually have a mark here, so I know where the middle helicoid is sitting and the inner helicoid is sitting in relation to the index mark here. So that's very important. So out with the helicoid key. We need a better screwdriver here. Yep. Unscrew it. And that's free. The helicoid key is actually sitting in position because it's held in place by the middle helicoid. So if you can see the holes in here, I can move it, the middle helicoid. So what I'm going to do now is, my starting point is the index mark here, and then I can turn the inner helicoid at the same time as I hold to the middle helicoid. So let's see. That's our starting point. And when will the helicoid come off? It's very different from lens to lens. So when the helicoid actually come off, you set a mark in line with this mark. So let's see when it will come off. Be very, the more closer you get to the off point, be very, have a good grip on this. So let's see, one full turn, a little more. Let's see. I have no idea where it will come off. So you can see it's a little loose. There. There, it come off. Now, hold on to the helicoids and we will set a mark over here where it actually came off the thread. So I will set a little mark here and actually an arrow to indicate that it's the off mark. And I could also write a little off just to make sure it's the correct position. Now, that's my off mark. And then I can pull it out. You can see there's really a lot of old gungy grease. So off with that. And now to the middle helicoid. And you can see the helicoid key is actually loose, because if we look here, where is it? Yeah, the helicoid key was actually sitting onto the, where did it go? Where did it actually go? Oh, sorry, we have to, yeah, you see, it sits on here to the two holes, so it was sitting like this. See, then I can just take out the helicoid key and and then begin to unscrew the middle helicoid. It can sit a little tight, and it has to sit tight. Or we can just press it out. We know the exact position of it anyway, but screwdriver here. So this is how it should sit. In case you sit it like this, it will not go. So next thing is the middle helicoid, which I also have a starting point here. And when will that come off? I don't know. But have a good grip on it. And as closer you get to the off point, I will just go back and make a note, because the inner helicoid was actually, it came off at let's see, came so, well, English is not my mother tongue, so came off at after 1.5 turn at 6 o'clock. And the middle helicoid, which actually came off after, well, let's see how it will go. Well, it came off 1 full turn and maybe a bit more. Yeah, there it goes off. Remember to set a mark. It will be here. make a scratch off. You probably think, okay, you damaged the lens. Not really, because you see somebody else and also the factory set some marks. So one full turn and a quarter bit, I mean almost a quarter more from the index mark, it will say here. And let's write it down. Helicoid came off after 1 point, well, around, I mean, it will, if we have 12 here, it will come off after around 12 minutes over 12, yeah. After 1 point, it's not a quarter, but yeah, around a quarter at around 12 minutes. 12 minutes. Over 12. I think you will get it. I don't know how to actually explain that, but I would think so. So if we have 12 here, and we have 12 minutes over here, 10, I think something like 10 would be up here. So I hope you get it. That's off. So when I clean it in odorless petroleum, I will also take care of not adding too much to the outer helicoid. So that I will do now, and I will be back so to the actual assembly of this. So see you sooner.